Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today we're going to be talking about Ray Fisher finally speaking out, Gal Gadot. We finally find out exactly what it is that she clashed with on Joss Whedon on the set of Justice League. This is, it's a really interesting thing for me because, you know, I've done quite a few videos on this Ray Fisher situation and on Joss Whedon. And I've always wished the best for the guy. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I loved what he did in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I just have had a problem with the way of his presentation of what has been going on. I feel like sometimes the way he's presented his case has minimized the real situation of racism that people face within the workplace. Now, I've never said that I don't believe him or I don't think what he's saying is true. I've just said that perhaps there's a little bit of sensitivity there, and what he has told us thus far does not merit the kind of actions that he's requesting from Warner Brothers. Only what he's told us thus far. He hasn't seemed to reveal everything. So we're going to be reading through an open it's basically an article that he wrote, an article that was written in the Hollywood Reporter. And we're going to also look at what happened with Gal Gadot as well on the set of Justice League. So bear with me as I go through all of this. I'm hoping I don't get more mad at Ray Fisher, because every time I read something he says, I get pissed at him. I'm hoping that this time, because I don't want to be pissed at people. I don't want to like be out here being aggressive and whatever, but I just feel that he riles up a quite toxic fan base. And I'm concerned that that toxic fan base hasn't done good things for the DCEU. It split and divided the DCEU, and I think if as a collective, as a fan base, we're stronger together than split apart. And I also think what Harry Lennox had to say about the situation, from what he knew so far, about what he thought that Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon and all of these people had done, but what he knew so far, that maybe you can mend fences rather than staying enemies with somebody for the rest of your life. But again, so I'm coming into this with a completely open mind. I've forgotten everything that Ray Fisher has said before. All my videos before, I'm putting them out. I haven't read this. I'm going to be reacting live to you on all the allegations on what he said. And again, as I said, I've read a little bit about Gal Gadot, but I don't know much. So I'm coming at this open-minded, maybe some shit went down with him on the set of Justice League, and that is why he's been so upset. So let's start with the accusation with Gal Gadot. So apparently Joss Whedon threatened Gal Gadot's career and disparaged Wonder Woman Patty Jenkins on set. So I want to go to the actual original article here. Oh, okay. The original article is Ray Fisher's article. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Well, let's read this. So, Joss Whedon's Hollywood career is certainly almost over after a recent series of allegations, and things continue to get worse for the filmmaker, who went from writing cult favorite TV shows to helming the record-breaking blockbusters for studios such as Marvel, The Avengers, and Avengers: Age of Ultron. The portrait of Whedon as a bully and an abusive person to work with on sets of his movies and TV shows is clearly painted now. And while we've heard pretty much nothing about those type of incidents during the tenure in the MCU, which is strange, it seems the writer and director chose not to hold back while working on Justice League's reshoots in 2017. Maybe he was quite stressed, I don't know. But according to the Hollywood Reporter, Whedon clashed with all the stars in the movie, including Jeremy Irons. However, Gal Gadot was extremely unhappy and ended up taking her complaints to the then chairman of Warner Brothers. She had concerns over Whedon's rewrites, including issues about her character being more aggressive than her character in Wonder Woman. She wanted to make the character flow from one movie to the next. That's interesting because she's more aggressive in Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's really weird. That's really strange. So surely she should have told Zack Snyder, which would have improved his movie, to not make her kill in that's interesting. Okay. So when Whedon pushed Gadot to film lines she wasn't on board with, he threatened to harm Gadot's career and disparage Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins. One source even tells the trade that Josh was bragging that he's had it out with Gal. He told her he's the writer and she's going to shut up and say the lines, and he can make her look incredibly stupid in this movie. Gadot and Jenkins took their issues to Kevin Sujihara, and it seems that that may have gone some ways towards resolving the matter. In a statement, Gadot says, "I had my issues with Whedon, and Warner Brothers handled it in a timely manner." That's probably as many specifics as we're going to get from the actress, but it's clear now that Whedon created a toxic environment for more than just Ray Fisher. Why? Well, it could be that it's the sort of person he is. Whedon was key in shaping what the MCU would become. He certainly was. He certainly brought the now trademark humor in these movies. But what the actors who worked on these projects went through, well, it can't have been pleasant. Okay, so first of all, just want to say, please do me a favor, give me a high five, smash that like button. So this is a really, really interesting kind of start to this. I'm going to go into the Ray Fisher article in just a minute. But yeah, do me that favor and please, if you're watching, smash that like button, give me a high five. How's it going, man? How's it going, Vishal? Thanks for joining us today. So, I mean, things I want to take out of that, again, Whedon is clearly an aggressive asshole. I don't think anyone has ever kind of denied that, but he did have this huge project that he was on that he must have felt extraordinary stress to completely transform Zack Snyder's movie in the way that the studios were telling him to. Now, in terms of Wonder Woman, I'm really confused about this because, and it starts to make me think. I understand now why Gal Gadot didn't support the Snyder cut as much as as much as she could. I mean, she really was kind of like she wasn't that enthusiastic. She wasn't like Jason Momoa or Ray Fisher on this. And if you read this, you kind of can see why. This idea that she didn't want Wonder Woman to be so aggressive, and to be more in line with Patty Jenkins' vision. And especially she would have, basically when Zack Snyder was filming the Justice League, Wonder Woman hadn't come out yet. So she couldn't really change anything Zack Snyder was doing. But I'm sure if it came out at the time Zack Snyder was filming, she probably would have mentioned to him, maybe you can tone it down. Maybe, like I like the action scene in the beginning, but maybe she shouldn't be killing the people. Maybe she can just, disable them or whatever. So that's interesting that Gal Gadot, had that feeling. And then, but Josh was bragging that he told Gal, it just seems again that this is an asshole thing. He's not sexually harassing anyone. He's not doing anything illegal. This isn't racism either. It does show lack of leadership, but he hasn't had these problems on other sets. So was this problem something that was created by, being exasperated by the task that he was set, which was a gargantuan, mammoth, impossible, thankless task. The fact is, after watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, as much as I love that movie, 90% of what is in Josh Whedon's movie, I'd say, all right, I'll give it 75% of what is in Josh Whedon's movie is actually just Zack Snyder's movie. You know, it's not, there's huge differences in the way Zack Snyder finishes the scenes and makes the scenes feel, so it feels like a completely different scene, a completely different movie. But the fact is, Josh Whedon's Justice League is very, very similar to Zack Snyder's, just done with a little less panache than Zack Snyder. So he really did just take Zack Snyder's footage and try and put it together, like, you know, in a kind of mishmash, put it together and try and make a Marvel MCU movie out of it. And that is exactly what the studios were telling him to do. So it's disappointing that he would behave like that, but I could understand with the pressure that he was under, that he could, he might have, his worst instincts might have come out. Now, what I'm saying by that is, I'm a big fan of Gal Gadot, big fan of Patty Jenkins, so I don't like him talking like this to her at all. But at the same time, what he did to her doesn't, it's not fucking Harvey Weinstein. Do you know what I mean? He was just being a fucking asshole. So now let's hear what Ray Fisher has to say. This is the big one now. I am completely in the blank on this, guys, of what Ray Fisher has to say in this article, and I'm coming at this completely open-minded in my, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. So I thought Zack did Wonder Woman great. She's the warrior, damn it, LOL. Her killing is okay, in my opinion. Vishal, look, you have to think about the future of the franchise, Vishal, and all I'm saying is you've got bad guys like Black Adam, whose thing is they're basically like Black Adam. The only thing that separates him from the heroes is he kills. So if all of the Justice League already kill, if all of them are already brutal, then what is Black Adam? There's just a thing, like some foresight into the way you do storytelling. And I don't think Wonder Woman kills, as I said, like she does kill in the comics, but when she absolutely has to. And I think you can make a badass scene of Wonder Woman taking people down without her having to kill. That's just my personal opinion. And I know she's a warrior, and I do like her much better in Zack Snyder's version than in Wonder Woman 84. So I agree with you on that. Hi, mate. I've read the article. Oh, so I don't want to read this. I'm going to come back to that because I don't want to read that just yet because I want to come in fresh for this. Good man, Ray. Hey, Egon, man. I can invite you in if you're interested, Egon, to let me know, so we can talk about the article together. But I'm going to read the article now and see what it has to say. I want to come in. I don't want to have my opinion biased. I'm going to give Ray Fisher the benefit of the doubt. I thought that the way he's gone on Twitter and the way he's presented his case so far just has bothered me. And another time. No problem, man. Another time. Keep up the good work. Thanks, man. The way he's presented his case so far has bothered me. So I don't like Twitter mobs. I don't like people using Twitter, weaponizing Twitter to go after people when they have not presented evidence to suggest why these people should be condemned. So again, giving Ray Fisher the absolute benefit of the doubt, which I'm going to do. I'm going to read this article now. That's a cool moustache he's got. Little bum fluff there. So Ray Fisher opens up about Justice League, Josh Whedon, and Warner Brothers. I don't believe some of these people are fit for leadership, he says. Over the past year, the actor has assailed the filmmaker and studio in harsh but cryptic tweets. I'm glad they've put that in the article. These are cryptic tweets. And, you know, for someone like the Hollywood Reporter to already be saying that is a good thing, because this is not right. You don't. This is not how you deal with your situations. You don't send out cryptic tweets just labeling people racist, sexist. Potentially. Whedon has gone through the whole gamut. Basically, even a girl who from Buffy, who was supposedly 15 at the time, said that she wasn't allowed in the room alone with him, and that's all she's going to say, which insinuates that basically he was sexually, like, did some kind of sexual thing to her, which is terrible. That's a really bad thing to put out there. If that isn't the case, if there's another reason he wasn't allowed in the room with you when you were 15 years old, you really should say what that is. That's terrible. You know, like racism and sexual assault are two things that you have to be really careful before you accuse somebody of, in my opinion. I use that very, very sparingly. I always make sure that I confirm that, you know, if I think somebody's done something racist against me, I confirm. I say, what was your intention there, mate? What did you mean by that? Like, just to make sure that, you know, I can rightly kind of condemn them. So in a harsh but cryptic tweet for what he says was racist and inappropriate conduct, I'm not so indebted to Hollywood that I haven't been willing to put myself out there. Okay, whatever that means. So Ray Fisher is ready to talk. Ever since June 2020, when he fired off a tweet accusing Josh Whedon of gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable behavior, unacceptable conduct on the set of Justice League, the 33-year-old actor has used social media and a series of interviews to lob serious allegations of racist behavior and cover-ups at Warner Brothers. So two things I want to mention just before I go on. That what I meant by when you can't just accuse people of racism and sexual misconduct and just put that out there if you're not sure about it, is because it really can destroy a person. Even if it's proven to be wrong afterwards, people will still come after that person for those reasons. So somebody can be accused of sexual assault, right? And it's the court completely, you know, acquits them, no charges. The evidence wasn't there, and they're innocent, or at least they're proven to be not guilty, right? Because there's no evidence there to suggest it happened. They come out, and if it's been smeared in the paper, the newspapers are very, very irresponsible about this stuff, because when stuff comes out that says somebody is a racist, or is a, you know, sexually assaulting or anything bad about them, they always run with those stories. But when the news comes out that they haven't been convicted or they're innocent of all the charges, the newspapers stop running the stories. So people in the public who have already judged them tend to they tend to just run with the earlier narrative that they were guilty. And essentially, they keep on getting attacked throughout their life for having done something that they didn't do. So that's the danger of going down this road. And I think it's really important that we're very careful about those kind of accusations because of that. Guys, please do me a favor, give me a high five, smash that like button if you're watching. But thanks for watching. So I'm going to continue now. We were okay. So the 33-year-old actor has used social media and a series of interviews to lob serious allegations of racist behavior and cover up at Warner Brothers. For Fisher, who plays Cyborg in the film, the issue is no longer so much what happened on the set in 2017 after director Zack Snyder was replaced by Josh Whedon, though he's ready to explain that too. His unrelenting focus in recent months has been the way executives first and the Warner Film Studio and then at its parent, Warner Media, handled allegations raised by himself and others. Now, I want to remind you that he put out, there's a problem here. Now, again, I'm going to be fair and balanced to Ray Fisher, but there's a real fucking problem here. He's already been proven to be a liar. Now, he put out a video, a recording of the judge who was investigating the allegations, where she says, "Oh, you're a nice guy, Ray Fisher. You came on time, and you've proved to be very credible." He put out that snippet of a recording with the judge, knowing that that would sound like the judge agrees with his assessment. But it turns out that the judge absolutely does not agree with his assessment, and actually has said that she doesn't believe that the reasons for the cuts on the Joss Whedon version of Justice League were a racial issue. She's also stated that she doesn't believe any racism that she saw any racism or severe racism was proven within that investigation. And everything that Ray Fisher has heard has been hearsay from second parties. So she got to interview those people who he got, who Ray Fisher heard these allegations from, and either they haven't confirmed it or the judge is lying. But what we do know is that Ray Fisher is definitely willing to manipulate evidence, or sorry, manipulate the situation by putting out recordings that he knows full well that the judge has not come out and said that she agrees with him on anything or that he is credible at all. So he just put that out there to bolster his own case. That's a terrible, terrible thing, and it makes me really concerned about where Ray Fisher is coming from. Wow. All right. I agree. What do you agree with, Vishal? You have to let me know what you agree with. What's up? Ray Fisher is a fool. He did a good job as Cyborg, but I have no interest as a person. This human is the definition of drama. Just dropping by real quick to show that you support. No problem, man. P, you're always welcome on as well. If you wanna jump on, just let me know. But if you're just coming by quickly to say hey, peace, bro. So this is a problem. So he has been proven a liar already, but I'm still willing to believe, to see what he has to say. Okay. So Warner Media has previously said that remedial action was taken as a result of its investigation, but has not elaborated. A spokesperson tells THR that for privacy and legal reasons, our policy is not publicly disclose the findings or the results of an investigation. Now that's problematic. That really is problematic, because I understand it's private or whatever, but if there was abuse, they should. I mean, either Ray Fisher should be able to come out and say it, and they should be able to confirm it, so as not to harm Ray Fisher's career. Because if it is true that there was some kind of thing that happened on set that was bad, and Ray Fisher is trying to blow the whistle on it, and he rightly should be doing that. I think he went about it the wrong way. I think he should have waited till the investigation was over and then come out and started saying things once the results came out. But nonetheless, Ray Fisher's essentially his career is really hurting from this, and it's made him out to look like quite a drama queen. He's got a very bad image among fans and a number of other people. So if it is true what he is saying, then Warner Brothers needs to come out and confirm that Ray Fisher was speaking the truth, in my opinion. But they probably hate him so much now that they can't be bothered, to be honest. So our policy is So Catherine Forrest, a former federal judge who conducted the Warner Media probe, tells THR in a statement that in interviews with more than 80 witnesses, she found no credible support for claims of racial animus or racial insensitivity. Here we go. A Warner Media spokesperson notes that the company made extraordinary effort to accommodate Mr. Fisher's concerns about the investigation and to ensure its fullness and fairness, and has complete confidence in the investigation process and Forrest's conclusion. Fisher was raised by, I don't care about who he was raised by, all right? He says he felt a new sense of urgency to speak out when the pandemic hit and the Black Lives Matter protesters took to the streets. Cool. To Fisher, who had a few screen credits, playing the half-man, half-machine Cyborg, the first black superhero in the DC universe, was both a huge career break and a major responsibility. Justice League was released in 2017, the year before Marvel broke ground with Black Panther. He was mindful that the film was overseen almost entirely by white executives and filmmakers. Okay. Well, that is the nature of Hollywood at the moment, unfortunately, but I don't see what that has to do with anything. Why would he be mindful of that? Because of he wanted to make sure that Cyborg was portrayed in a good way, I guess. While Fisher has dropped details and named names, outsiders have struggled to understand, how did Whedon incur his anger? Did Fisher really decline to participate in an investigation that was launched in response to his own complaints, as Warner's claimed in September? Was Fisher fighting a righteous battle or a quixotic one when he set out on a path that appears to have cost him a place in the DC universe? Now, in many hours of conversation, Fisher tells his side. Much of his previous reluctance to spell out the story, he says, arose because he didn't and still doesn't want to expose the identities of others who shared their stories with him and investigators. I'm not looking to have any witnesses lose their job, he says. But wait a second, you told Warner Brothers to release the results of the investigation. So that would expose the identities. So again, that doesn't make sense, Ray Fisher. But anyway, fine, he doesn't want to expose people, but you want Warner Brothers to expose them, and therefore they lose their job. And Warner Brothers already knows who they are. So Warner Brothers knows who these people are because they interviewed them. So, yeah. And, all right. And why? So you're trying to hide Gal Gadot? So those include someone who wouldn't seem to have any worries about job security. Exactly, Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa. Others who were not involved with Justice League. See, exactly. So Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa don't have to worry about that stuff. They could have come out and supported you. Now, I'm not trying to be skeptical. It's just that is just ridiculous what you just said there. Others who were not involved with Justice League also, if you don't want to reveal who these guys are, Ray Fisher, then just don't bother, do it. It really is. There's no point, because you're only going to do harm to yourself, and they're not going to come out and back you up. They should have come out and backed you up if there was something really bad happened on set. And they're just being cowards, basically, and they're letting you take the fall for everything and ruin your career. And I just think it's a shame, because he's a fantastic young actor. I really think he's got so much talent. So it's unfortunate. Others who were not involved with the Justice League also spoke to Fisher, and in some cases, the investigators about experiences with Whedon and with Jeff Johns, who was co-chairman of DC Films and a producer on the film. They include Charisma Carpenter, who recently wrote on social media of Whedon's alleged abusiveness on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which has nothing to do with the Justice League set, and individuals who had worked with Johns on Sci-Fi's Krypton. One individual who had worked on him with Sci-Fi's Krypton, by the way. Fisher got Warner's to start an investigation more than 2 years after the first version of the film was released, but he soon found the process to be suspicious. The studio and its parent company seem to be focused on protecting top executives, he says. All right, so I'm going to move past this part. The process moved in starts and stops, and when he felt forced to ramp up his public protest, the studio responded with what Fisher calls a deliberate smear. Warner Brothers maintains it has done everything necessary to address Fisher's concern. He still wants an apology. Okay, good. Is it going to go into the interview? In May 2017, Fisher was walking into a movie in New York when he got a call from Zack Snyder, blah, blah, blah. I want to get to the point because I don't want to spend more time on this in my life than necessary. All right, so here we go. Okay, this does make sense. In May 2017, Fisher was walking into the movie in New York when he got a call from Zack Snyder that left him stunned. Snyder was leaving Justice League, citing his daughter's. Ray Fisher, I swear he has a sexual attraction to. Left you a like, my friend. Thanks, man. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Everyone's left. So Ray Fisher seems to have a real attraction for some reason to Zack Snyder. I swear there's like a little tension. He believes like Zack Snyder is like the real, like a real how would you call it? Champion of ethnic minorities in his films, and I just really don't see that. I think he's good. Zack Snyder's good with ethnic minorities on films, but he's not a great champion of ethnic minorities in film. I'm sorry. I mean, like, there are much more, you know, in terms of directors and filmmakers. Like, he's no Quentin Tarantino when it comes to having black people star in his films and making them like the biggest part. You know, do you know what I mean? Like, he's good. He's got a good record with ethnic minorities, but I don't think he's a great. You know, there's other people, other directors that are much more synonymous with being much more. How would you put it? Making sure there's a good diversity in their films. So sources say that Snyder was under enormous pressure at the time. The studio was unhappy with the reception and box office performance of his previous film. The bleak Batman v Superman, and with Justice League footage already shot, now insisted on a lighter touch. Warner's also asked Snyder to produce a 2-hour cut that he had a wrenching time delivering, though eventually he did. Ultimately, Snyder left, and Whedon, who had written and directed Marvel's Avengers, had already been brought in to help brighten the Justice League's tone and took the helm. The Justice League that Fisher had signed up for was a far cry from the film that Whedon ended up finishing. Snyder had Fisher talk at length with screenwriter Chris Terrio before there was even a script. Zack and I always considered Cyborg's story to be the heart of the movie, Terrio tells THR. He has the most pronounced character arc of any of the heroes, which is a Justice League movie that doesn't really make sense. As much as I like Zack Snyder's Snyder Cut and I really like Cyborg in it, that doesn't really make sense. It's a Justice League movie. You know, we came for Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman. You know, that time that it spent on Cyborg could have been spent on Superman, to be fair. Like, but I liked it, so I'll give him a break for that. But I really think, considering Superman has basically in his own sequel had barely any lines, barely was in Justice League, and also was barely, even in his own movie, you didn't really get to know him in Man of Steel so much, that it would have been better to time spent to fleshing out Superman during that whole Cyborg arc. He has the most pronounced character arc of all the heroes, beginning from the place of despair and ending with the feeling that he is whole and that he is loved. And Terrio says he and Snyder took the portrayal of the first black superhero in the DC film universe very seriously, which is good. Good on them. Adding, with a white writer and a white director, we both thought having the perspective of an actor of color was really important, and that came through in the film, and that was one of the things I very, very much liked about that film. that did come through. So it's kind of hard because I love the Ray Fisher and Cyborg stuff in the movie. I thought he did fantastic in the film. Yet it's still, I guess I would have just preferred that in a Cyborg movie and to focus more on Superman in a Justice League movie. But it's good that Chris Terrio and Zack Snyder actually did that. I think that's enormously, I'm really happy and proud of them that they actually did that. That's a great thing, and I don't think anyone should discredit them for that. And Ray is really good with story and character, so he became a partner in creating Victor, referring to the character's given name. When new filming proceeded under Whedon, says Fisher, he came to feel that he had to explain some of the most basic points of what would be offensive to the Black community. See, this is a problem again. Let's see what he says. After Fisher's reps were told that Whedon planned to make major revisions to the film, he flew from New Jersey to meet with the filmmaker in LA. When the two met at a bar, Fisher says Whedon was tiptoeing around the fact that everything was changing. As he left the meeting, Fisher was handed the revised script, which he read twice on the plane back. Gone was Cyborg's traumatic backstory, his relationship with his mother, whose loving scenes with son were eliminated, as was the accident that killed her and led to his transformation. The material was later restored in this Snyder Cut version of the film that streamed on HBO Max. He must have been pissed, bro, when he read that script. So he met him in a bar and then read the script after. That's terrible. It represents that his parents are two genius-level Black people, Fisher says. We don't see that every day. Okay, well, whatever, dude. Whedon sent out an email asking the questions, comments, or fulsome praise. But Fisher says it became clear all he was looking for was the fulsome praise. Trying to strike a jocular tone, Fisher responded that he mourned the loss of the Cyborg material, but was moving on. Okay, so he moved on. But I think he got angry because of this. He got ripped, like he really got ripped up. But he was still good in the Joss Whedon version, which is the funny thing. I didn't want a movie of him after the Joss Whedon version, though. That's the only difference. But he did. He was good in the movie. He said he had notes to avoid issues in terms of representation of the character. But in a call with Whedon, Fisher says he had barely started to talk when the filmmaker cut him off. It feels like I'm taking notes right now, and I don't like taking notes from anybody, not even Robert Downey Jr. Which is fair enough for Joss Whedon to say. He's the fucking director. Unless he was telling you to do something extremely racist, then it's fair enough for Joss Whedon to say. He doesn't need to take notes from a theater actor. I'm sorry, Ray Fisher, that's just the way it is. He said, other sources on the project say Whedon was similarly dismissive of Gadot and Momoa when they questioned new lines. True. Again, same deal. He's the director. He gets to make the call. If they have a problem, yeah, you have to take it up with higher ups, the producers, somebody who's above him, and then get the lines changed. And if they're seriously offensive, then yeah, you can do that. But like otherwise, you just have to do what you're told. Fisher turned to Johns. It's their money to lose, you know what I mean? I know it's impacting the person's career, but I doubt it would have, I see where they're coming from, because I think if anything, Gal Gadot should have complained about a number of different things in that film, from the jump, from like the action scenes where she just gets to do nothing and just is weak as shit. That's what I would have been complaining about. I would have been like, this is a female superhero. You've just done a really cool movie that's caught on, everybody likes, and now you're going to treat her like she's trash in this second movie. That's the stuff I would have hoped that Gal Gadot asked to get changed. But anyway, so far, it just sounds like Joss Whedon's being an asshole. Nothing racist here. He doesn't want to take notes from you. So Fisher turned to Johns, who he says had presented himself as a kind of mediator, but Fisher says his ultimate response was, We can't make Josh mad. Publicist Howard Bergman, who represents John, denies that, but says Johns recalls suggesting that any creative pitches should happen when Josh Whedon was not preoccupied, so he would be most receptive. There we go. So Johns has finally come out and said something. Recalls suggesting that any creative pitches should happen when Josh Whedon was not preoccupied because he's doing this incredibly crazy production. And that's fair enough. So once Whedon got involved, Fisher says that Johns told him that it was problematic that Cyborg smiled only twice in the movie. Fisher says he later learned, once Whedon got involved, Fisher says that Johns told him, yeah, which maybe some people might agree with that. A lot of people have been saying that, Cyborg was too depressed, but I don't think so. But that's what a lot of people said. Again, not racist. Fisher says he later learned from a witness who participated in the investigation that Johns and other top executives, including then DC Films co-chairman John Berg and Warner Studios chief Toby Emmerich, had discussions in which they said they could not have an angry black man at the center of the film. So again, this gives context now to this angry black man line. Again, this is what I was always saying. What does he mean by that? What is the meaning behind it? And it's just been basically said. Johns basically said, once Whedon got involved, Fisher says that Johns told him that it was problematic that Cyborg smiled only twice. So the reason Johns thought that is not from some kind of, the phrasing is terrible. The phrasing's really bad, but clearly what he means is that he doesn't want a black stereotype at the center of the movie of an angry black man. It's misguided. It's wrong. I feel that Cyborg was far superior in what Snyder had envisioned. And maybe, Johns was thinking, oh, let's make it a bit more like Marvel. Let's make it a bit more lighthearted. And of course, the Cyborg character is more lighthearted in the comics. So, this makes sense to me. This completely fucking makes sense why he said this statement. And that this was the only reason that I said this could be a justified reason to say they could not have an angry black man at the center of the films. Johns is vindicated by this. Unless there's more, Johns is completely vindicated. Johns' rep responds that once the chairman of the studio mandated a brighter tone for the film, all further discussions centered on adding joy and hopefulness to all 6 superheroes. There are always conversations about avoiding any stereotype of race, gender, or... Dude, I mean, unless there's more to this, what up, man? Yeah. Pretty sure everyone in 300 was white. Yeah, what up, Lantern, man? Do you want to join me on this? Tell me if you want to join me on this, but like, fucking hell. This is crazy. This is everything we've been saying. It wasn't racist then. Even Ray Fisher admits, basically, once Whedon got involved, Fisher says that Johns told him that it was problematic that Cyborg smiled only twice in the movie. And then Johns says it himself. Johns' rep responds that once the chairman of the studio mandated a brighter tone for the film, so it wasn't Johns making the movies brighter, it was the studio fucking head, Kevin Sugiura. All further discussion centered on adding joy and hopefulness to all 6 superheroes. There are always conversations about avoiding any stereotype of race, gender, or sexuality. I don't want to hear anything about Johns anymore. I don't want to hear any fucking thing about Jeff Johns anymore. Unless he's done something else, I don't want to hear anything about Jeff Johns anymore. Johns told Fisher he should play the character less like Frankenstein and more like the kind-hearted Quasimodo. There's a kind-hearted Quasimodo. Fisher says that in order to demonstrate the look he wanted, Johns tipped his shoulder in what struck Fisher as a servile posture. To Fisher, there was a big difference between portraying a character who was born with a disability versus one who had been transformed by trauma. And oh my God, this is bad. And he felt Cyborg was a kind of modern day Frank. So these are just creative differences. Creative differences that I agree mostly with Ray Fisher on. But still, what the hell, man? That's what he meant by Quasimodo, and you made it out like he was trying to be racist about it. Jesus Christ, this is bad, dude. This is worse than I thought. Fuck. To Fisher, there was a big difference between portraying a character who was born with a disability versus one who had been transformed by trauma. And he felt Cyborg was a kind of modern day Frankenstein. I didn't have any intention of playing him as jovial, cathedral cleaning individual, he says. John's representatives respond. Jeff gave a note using a fictional character as an example of a sympathetic man who is unhappy and has an inclination to hide from the world, but one whom the audience roots for because he has a courageous heart. Oh my God. Fisher told Johns is coming all out now. Fisher told Johns it might be one thing for a non-black person to write a character for a comic, but it was another for a black actor to portray that character on screen. Fisher told Johns it might be one thing for a non-black person to write a character for a comic, but it was another for a black actor to portray the character on screen. All right, let's hear what he says now. Maybe this will give some context. It was like he was assuming how black people would respond rather than taking the advice from the only black person. Oh my God. As far as I know, with any kind of creative impact on the project, Fisher says. He was mandated to do this. They told him to make it more joyful. He was doing his job, Ray Fisher. Oh my God. I've got a headache. I've got a literal headache about this. I wish people started actually question things and looking into it instead of believing without actually reasons. This is crazy, bro. This is so much worse than I thought. Unless this gets much worse for Johns, I'm not sure yet. Maybe Johns is going to say something terrible. But this is just a creative difference. This is a straight up creative difference. What has being black got to do with playing the character like Frankenstein versus playing him like Quasimodo? Like, personally, thinking of Frankenstein as a character and thinking of Quasimodo as a character, I think I'd be more offended if you played it like Frankenstein. As a black person, I'd be more offended you playing the character like Frankenstein than like Quasimodo. So I really don't understand that. Like, I don't even think there's any offense in either interpretation. The offense comes way before that. The offense of Cyborg's character being on the Justice League comes way before that. But man, this is bad. There's nothing here. He's literally got nothing so far. All right, maybe there's something coming up. Jeff gave a note using a fictional character. Okay, here we go. So Fisher told it, the black person. It was like, and why any of the, who are you, Ray Fisher? You can't tell him this kind of stuff. Like, I'm the black person, so I'm the authority on what black people will think about the character. You can't say that. There's billions of black people on the planet. You don't know how they'll feel about how the character's portrayed. That's complete bullshit. Unless it's extremely racist. But whether it's Frankenstein or it's Quasimodo makes absolutely no difference. Fisher says Johns did not yield. That was the last creative conversation about anything that Jeff Johns and I had. I knew I was on my own, Fisher says. Johns' rep denies that he ever dismissed any comments, adding that Fisher knew Johns, whose spokesperson requested that he be identified as a Lebanese American. What? Fisher says Johns did not yield. That was the last creative conversation about anything that Geoff Johns and I had. I knew I was on my own, Fisher says. Johns' rep denies that he ever dismissed any comments, adding that Fisher knew Johns, whose spokesperson requested that he be identified as Lebanese American, had evolved traditionally all white DC properties like Shazam, Justice Society of America, and others into diverse groups of heroes in his extensive work as a comic book author. That's all true. All things I've been saying to justify this thing about Geoff Johns. And I didn't know Geoff Johns was Lebanese American, by the way. Justice League producer Chuck Roven, a veteran on DC superhero films dating back to Batman Begins in 2005, says, I fully empathize. How can you say that? Oh, Batman Begins, which was in 2005. I fully empathize with Ray that his character arc was significantly altered and shortened. I've also collaborated with Geoff on over many years and found him to be a gracious and humble man. Geoff took it upon himself to put Cyborg in the Justice League comics in the first place and has written more about the character than any other individual except for the creator. He loves the character Cyborg. True. Absolutely true. I'm reading a Flash comic now, and it was actually, I didn't even know this. This is really weird. I didn't even know this. The Flash it's Rick Fumiyawa Flash movie, which was going to have Ray Fisher in it. It was going to have Cyborg in it. It's based on a fucking Geoff Johns comic. I didn't even realize that. Like I was shocked to realize this. I can't remember what it's called. But basically I'm reading a comic now where Geoff Johns basically came up with the idea of the Flash and Cyborg being a kind of buddy cop team. So that idea, which I thought was something that was created in the DCEU, actually comes from Geoff Johns comics. It's crazy to me that this is what this is all about. And even now Chuck Roven has come out and fucking defended him. All these tensions were playing out during an extremely stressful time at the studios. AT&T's $85 billion acquisition of Time Warner. Oh my God, I can't believe. I don't know what anybody who supports Ray Fisher is going to say about this. This is shocking. This is absolutely shocking. All these tensions were playing out during an extremely stressful time at the studios. AT&T's $85 billion acquisition of Time Warner, which was announced in October 2016, but didn't close until June 2018, was still pending. Justice League was a $300 million proposition, and it was troubled. Warner's had not been able to match Disney's consistent success with Marvel movies. Fisher felt that some of the studio executives' decision-making was driven by fear of losing their jobs. Okay, yeah, that's what people usually do. The tension only escalated when the issue of having Cyborg say "Booyah" arose. That phrase had become a signature of the character thanks to the animated Teen Titans shows, but the character had never said it in the comics in the original script. Fisher says that Johns had approached Snyder about including the line, but the director didn't want any catchphrases, which isn't, booyah. Yes, I understand not wanting that in your movie, but come on, man. Why not have any catchphrases of any of the superheroes? That makes the film fun. I don't understand that mentality. Like Kneel Before Zod, like certain catchphrases can be used in the film and it's fun. Like it's a nice little Easter egg, and some of the catchphrases of these superheroes are quite badass. They're not They're things that would fit in a Snyder movie. It's not like I don't know, man. I've never understood his shying away from catchphrases. I understand shying away from booyah because that's kind of lame. I've always found that lame myself, but all catchphrases of superheroes, like it was really cool when they managed in Shazam to have Billy Batson say his catchphrase like "Holy moly" and make it seem normal. Like they made it work basically. And I always wanted to see Wonder Woman say, Hera help me, or any of her catchphrases in the movies, and she hasn't said it yet, and it's really annoying. Just shows a lack of love for the character. He managed the situation by putting the word on some signs in his version of the film as an Easter egg. But John's rep says the entire studio believed the Booyah line was a fun moment of synergy. Fisher says he should have said another line, like, why Booyah, Jeff Johns, of all of the lines that these superheroes have? They see, this is the thing. Everyone understands it. Everyone understands that when you go and see a Batman movie, you want to hear him say, "I'm Batman," or whatever. That's his catchphrase. "I'm Batman." Who are you? "I'm Batman." That's the fucking cool moment. In any black man film, in any Batman film. So these catchphrases are fun when used correctly, right? And there are badass catchphrases. And I bet you Zack Snyder in one of has he had Batman say "I'm Batman" yet in one of the movies? Maybe he hasn't. But to be fair to me, I don't think he has actually. But again, it's a fun line, like kneel before Zod. It's a fun line. It would have made Man of Steel a better movie. Fisher says he doesn't see the word in itself as an issue, but he thought it played differently in a live action film than the animated series. When he said it in the movie, it was absolutely fine. In the Justice League, that was not the problem with the Justice League movie. There was many more problems with Justice League than him saying "booyah." And he thought of black characters in pop culture with defining catchphrases. Gary Coleman's "What you talking about, Lewis Willis?" and Jimmy Walker's "Dynamite," as no one else in the film had a catchphrase. He says it seemed weird to have the only black character say that. I don't think it seems weird, but to be honest, it's the lamest of all of their catchphrases. That's the only thing I would say. And Superman does say a bit of his catchphrase as well, like the "truth and justice" one. And that was probably my favorite moment in the Justice League movie, was when Superman comes in and says, I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice. I kind of got like, I kind of like that. I wish that had stayed in the Snyder Cut. I'm sorry, but it wasn't as cool just having him come back and just be like, I'm not impressed. It's like, all right, great line, Superman. And yes, neither of the lines were fantastic. There could have been better lines from both of them, but I think that line would have played better in Zack Snyder's movie, but I'm also a big fan of Justice, would have played really well. But I like catchphrases. You don't overdo it. You do it once in the movie, get the character to say it and move on. But I like catchphrases in movies. If they're not lame ones, like a holy bat, the Robin one was always really terrible. So with reshoots underway, Fisher says Whedon raised the issue. Jeff tells me Cyborg has a catchphrase, he told him. Fisher says he expressed his objections and it seemed the matter was dropped until Berg, the co-chairman of DC Films and a producer on the project, took him to dinner. And he says, "This is one of the most expensive movies Warner has ever made," Berg said, according to Fisher. "What if the CEO of AT&T has a son or daughter and the son or daughters wants Cyborg to say booyah in the movie and we don't have a take on that? I could lose my job." Yeah, right. Fisher responded that he knew if he filmed the line, it would end up in the movie. and he expressed skepticism that the film's fate rested on Cyborg saying "Booyah." Yeah, true. But you know, if the film was successful, I'm sure the daughter would have gotten over it. So Ray Fisher has a point there. But he shot the take. As he arrived on set, he says Whedon stretched out his arms and said it a line from Hamlet in a mocking tone. "Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you." Fisher replied, "Josh, don't. I'm not in the mood." All right, so Josh Whedon, that is a fucking asshole move. That is really a fucking asshole move. Still not worth all of the bullshit, but that's a really dick thing to say. As he left the set, after saying just that one phrase for the cameras, he says Whedon called out, "Nice work, Ray." As he left the set after saying just that one phrase from the cameras, he says Whedon called out, "Nice work, Ray." He's being such a douche. All right, so Josh Whedon's a douchebag. That's the moral of this story. Josh Whedon's a fucking douchebag. Even before that line was shot, Fisher's agent had called Warner Film Studios chief Emmerich to raise concerns about what was happening on set. After Fisher arrived in Los Angeles for additional photography in summer 2017, Johns asked him to come to the DC offices in Burbank. When they met in a conference room, Fisher said he had apologized to Whedon for his part in the conflict, which he had done in the hope of preventing a real rupture with the DC team. Johns responded that having agents call Emmerich was just not cool, Fisher recalls. He said, "I consider us to be friends," which he knew we were not. Okay. "And I just don't want you to make a bad name for yourself in this business." Fisher took that as a threat. Oh my God. I can't read this anymore. I cannot read this anymore. Fisher took that as a threat. He said, "I consider us to be friends," which he knew we were not, which is just a dickhead thing for you to say, Ray Fisher. "And I just don't want you to make a bad name for yourself in the business." Wow. He was just telling him, like, don't go to Emmerich over our heads or whatever. Just not cool or whatever. But okay, I'm giving Ray Fisher the benefit of the doubt here. I truly believe that John should have been more receptive to him. But it seems like he's saying everything in the most friendly fucking way possible to Ray Fisher. And you've labeled this man a racist now for fucking months. This is pathetic, dude. Oh my God. Just because he it looks like it really is because they took him out of the movie. That's what it looks like. They cut him out of the movie. He got mad, and now he wanted to make Johns look as bad as possible. This is terrible, Ray Fisher. Really bad behavior, bro. Really, really bad behavior. Let me see if there's anyone mentioning anything. Fuck. So yeah, I've not read much of Jeff's Flash and Green Lantern stuff. I've heard it's good. Yeah, Vishal, it is really good. Geez, Ray Fisher's racist as fuck. I don't know what you mean by that, Shadow Vessel, but all right. I'm Batman. Yeah. Okay, I'm actually about 7 minutes behind you live. LOL. And then I like the "I believe in truth, justice" stuff, but it don't make sense in my opinion. Yeah, I know what you mean. I just like the line. I thought it was kind of cool when he came in. He says, you know, I'm a big fan of truth. Now, what did he say? "I'm a fan of truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice too." I just like I think Henry Cavill did a good job of dropping that line. I thought it was a good line. It should be done in a different time, like he's just almost killed the league. LOL. Him coming back all classic, saying that was cold for was odd for me. LOL. Yeah. I see what you're saying about that. So I just joined, but that was a thinly veiled threat. God. Yeah, I know, right? That is not a threat. So basically, it's basically Josh was an asshole, but did he actually abuse? No, it doesn't seem like it. He just seems like he was being a fucking asshole, and that's it. And this stuff about Jeff Johns, I mean, the world. I'm telling you right now, everyone owes Jeff Johns an apology. No fucking if, ands, or buts. Everyone owes Jeff Johns an apology, even from the lighter tones of the movie. So even from the stuff with Wonder Woman 1984, that was clearly something mandated by Kevin Tsujihara to make everything more lighter and like Marvel. So basically, all of the blame goes to Kevin Tsujihara in terms of that kind of stuff. This is bad, bro. Like, I feel really sorry for Jeff Johns now. I doubted him a bit. I was worried. I was like, geez, did he actually maybe say something bad to Jeff? Anyway, let me finish the article because I haven't finished it yet. Maybe out of nowhere, Jeff Fisher's going to come up with something. But that's bad. This he considers a threat. That. Where was it? So Jeff Johns saying, it's just not cool to go to Emmerich. And he said, I consider us to be friends, which he knew we were not, which is just a really snarky thing to say. And I just don't want you to make a bad name for yourself in the business. The man was doing his fucking job. He just got in the position as head of DC Creative, and he's been the best person as the head of DC Creative, by the way. He was the one who was getting Shazams and Aquamans and all of that greenlit. Fuck. We have done Jeff Johns dirty. Everyone needs to know that, because Jeff Johns was working with Zack Snyder, creating the Justice League and doing all of that stuff all along. This is bad. So Fisher was not the only star on Justice League who was unhappy. Sources say Whedon clashed with all the stars on the film, including Jeremy Irons, and one Justice League star ended up taking her complaints not only to the head of the film studio, but also to the chairman of Warner Brothers. A knowledgeable source says Gadot had multiple concerns with the revised versions of the film, including issues of her character being more aggressive than her character was in Wonder Woman. She wanted to make the character flow from one movie to the other, which makes sense. But again, I find her way more aggressive in the Zack Snyder cut than she was. Like, her character was really good in the Zack Snyder cut, much better than she was in Justice League. So if she got her way in Justice League, and they changed Gal Gadot into what she wanted in Justice League, that was trash. She came across as some mother to the Justice League, like some lame soccer mum for the Justice League. It was terrible. Absolutely awful. I much prefer her in Zack Snyder's Justice League, apart from the killing. If she didn't kill in Zack Snyder's Justice League, she'd be almost the perfect Wonder Woman with a bit more power. But anyway, that's just my opinion on it. The biggest clash, sources say, came from Whedon when Whedon pushed Gadot to record lines she didn't like, threatened to harm Gadot's career, and disparage Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins. While Fisher declines to discuss any of what transpired with Gadot, a witness on the production who later spoke to investigators says that after one clash, Josh was bragging about what he did to Gal, which is, the guy is clearly a fucking douchebag. There's no doubt about it. To me, I never really liked Josh Whedon in the first place. I liked his Avengers movie. I was never a big fan of Buffy. I've never been a big fan of his humor. So this doesn't surprise me. He's not an artist. He's just he is an artist. That's unfair to say, but he's not a very good artist. Put it that way. I've never been very impressed by much he's done outside of the Avengers 1 movie. A knowledgeable source says Gadot and Jenkins went to battle, culminating in a meeting with then Warner's chairman Kevin Tsujihara Asked for comment, Gadot says in the statement, "I've settled it with Whedon and Warner Brothers, handled it in a timely manner." Okay, so whatever it was, it couldn't have been so big. 3 months after Justice League hit theaters, Whedon exited Warner Brothers. Batgirl, dude, Jeff Johns has been thrown under the bus for what fucking Whedon did. Really, he really has. They told him to protect this guy. They told him look after him, make sure he feels good because he's the big Avengers director. Whedon exited Warner's Batgirl project. Batgirl is such an exciting project, and Warner Brothers DC Warner DC such collaborative and supportive partners that it took months to realize it really didn't have a story, he said at the time. 3 months after Justice League hit theaters, Whedon exited Batgirl's project. Batgirl is such an exciting project, and Warner's DC such collaborative and supportive partners that it took me months to realize I really didn't have a story, he said at the time. Bullshit, he was fired, basically. When Justice League opened in November 2017, the film was panned. It was 40% rated on Rotten Tomatoes. It should have been 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. And grossed a disappointing $658 million worldwide. Berg exited his job that December. Johns departed the following June, which is very, very sad in a way, in some ways, because I feel very sorry for him after this. Jeff Johns, you know, it's really bad. He just did what Warner Brothers asked him to do because he didn't want to be like the comic book guy. But Whedon was still part of the Warner Media universe. In 2018, a few months after he left Batgirl, HBO greenlighted his drama The Nevers straight to series. I don't give a fuck what he's saying here. And then he parted ways. Is that it? After Justice League, Fisher went to play Mahershala Ali's son in the 3rd season of True Whatever. I don't care about that. Multiple sources tell THR that the show's creators were passionate about doing some non-traditional casting, and that Reggae John Page, who would go home as a breakout star from Bridgerton, had auditioned to play for the role of Superman's grandfather. But Johns, who was overseeing the project, said Superman could not have a black grandfather. The creators also wanted to make the one superhero character, Adam Strange, gay or bisexual, but sources say Johns vetoed the idea. Okay, there's something interesting went on here. All right, let's see what went on here. I think I've missed something. After Justice League, Fisher went on to play Mahershala Ali's son. There's a lot to this. In the 3rd season of True Detective, which he calls a great experience. But in coming months, he would hear fresh reports about what had gone on behind the scenes on Justice League, including the angry black man conversation and other alleged allegations involving Johns. 2 individuals who work for Sci-Fi's Krypton TV series talked to Fisher about events that took place on the series. Multiple sources tell THR that the show's creators were passionate about doing some non-traditional casting, and that Reggae Jean Page, who would go on to become a breakout star on Bridgerton, had auditioned for the role of Superman's grandfather. But Johns, who was overseeing the project, said Superman could not have a black grandfather. The creators also wanted to make one superhero character, Adam Strange, gay, bisexual, but sources say Johns vetoed that idea. Jeff celebrates and supports LGBTQ characters, including Batwoman, who in 2006 was reintroduced as LGBTQ in comic book series co-written by Johns. There's Johns' rep in the email. Johns also pitched Warner's on developing a television show around the first LGBTQ lead DC superhero television series, he adds. As for the role of Superman's grandfather, the rep says Johns believed fans expected the character to look like a young Henry Cavill. Right. There you go. So he had his reasons. Several sources who spoke to Fisher around this time were willing to talk to Warner's investigator. Among them was writer Najria Tucker, who tweeted February 24th, "I haven't spoken to Jeff Johns since the day on Krypton when he tried to tell me what it is and is not a black thing," Tucker tells THR. And Johns objected when a black female character's hairstyle was changed in scenes that took place on different days. "I said black women, we tend to change, blah, 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 tend to change our hair frequently. It's not weird. It's a black thing," she says. And he said, "No, it's not." John's spokesperson says, "What were standard continuity notes for a scene are being spun in a way that are not only personally offensive to Jeff, but on the people that know who he is, know the work he has done, and know the life he lives. As Jeff has personally seen firsthand the painful effects of racial stereotypes concerning hair and other cultural stereotypes, having been married to a black woman who he was with for a decade, and with his second wife, who is Asian American, as well as his son, who is mixed race." Wow. By Jesus Christ. By late June 2020, Fisher went public with his bloody hell, this is long. I need to cut this into 2 parts, guys. How long is this going on? Guys, I predicted this from the very start of the fiasco, that Ray Fisher was unhappy and was complaining that Jeff said to calm a bit. That's basically it. That's basically what it looks like. This is a really long one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for the sake of breaking this up a little, tell me if you can hear me, guys, because I just did something. If you can't hear me, please let me know. So Jesus Christ. Sorry, guys. Hello. All right, good. Sorry. So yeah, I'm gonna do just for the sake of, I'm gonna carry on with this article, but for the sake of splitting this up into 2 videos, I'm gonna say goodbye for now. I'll see you on the flip side, and I love you 3,000. Okay, I'm gonna be starting again in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today we're going to be talking about the Ray Fisher allegations into Jeff Johns' conduct on the set of Justice League. I've been reading an article which has shed a lot of light. Guys, if you can't hear me, please let me know. Which has shed a lot of light on these allegations against Jeff Johns. And wow, this is amazing revelations. Jeff Johns has finally come out, and basically he's coming out swinging. He's defending himself big time against Ray Fisher's allegations here. And he's got some real zingers here. And, you know, the problem is, I would say, like, I'm just going to be objective about this. But the problem here is, from what I've read so far, they haven't accused Jeff Johns of anything. It just seems to be like people really making a mountain out of a molehill of what Jeff Johns has been saying. So let's say you think in 10 months, all this stuff will still be talked about. Like, it's sad. I think Jeff Johns is ruined forever. This has just ruined Jeff Johns forever, no matter what. They're not gonna, you know, it's come out that basically all the accusations are bullshit. Just sensitive people being sensitive. Gal's probably not read much Wonder Woman comics. Yeah, I know, she probably hasn't. I get the feeling she hasn't at all. And okay, seems like Gal Gadot suffered actual harassment from Josh Whedon. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it seems like definitely a little bit, you know, I don't think it was a lot, but basically, again, it came down to creative differences and him being a little bit threatening to her, which he should have been reprimanded for. Definitely, there's no doubt he should have been reprimanded for what he did to Gal Gadot. But making a big fuss about it is something else. His son, who was mixed race. By late June 2020, Fisher went public with his dissatisfaction of what he viewed as Warner's inaction. For their part, Warner sources contended that Fisher was being manipulated by Snyder. Did I just read that? Holy fuck. What I've been saying for fucking ages. Oh my God. This is what I've been saying for ages. I thought I thought this would never come out. This is why Warner's wants nothing to do with the Snyderverse. This is it. For their part, Warner sources contend that Fisher was being manipulated by Snyder, who hoped to reclaim control of the DC film universe. Oh my fucking God. Guys, did you hear that? I think they did cast Zod as a black man in Krypton. Exactly. I cannot believe what I just read. That is fucking crazy. I've got to do it. I've got to do a reaction video on this with tonight. We're going live reaction video with Philosophical Pickle on this topic. We're going to go through all of this. This shit is crazy, bro. By late 2020, Fisher went public with his dissatisfaction at what he viewed as Warner's inaction. For their part, Warner sources contend that Fisher was being manipulated by Snyder. I cannot believe that shit. Fisher says that the assertion that a black man would not have his own agency is just as racist. It's not racist. They're just saying that they think that, dude, that's not racist. I'm sorry. It's just as racist as the conversations Warner leadership was having about the Justice League reshoots. I've been underestimated at every turn during this process, and that is what has led us to this point. Had they taken me as seriously as they should have from the beginning, they would not have made as many foolish mistakes as they did in the process. Snyder denies any role in influencing Ray Fisher. Wow. So they hate each other. Snyder, Warner Brothers. I didn't know that Animus was this. There ain't no Snyderverse, bro. He should have. Dude, Zack Snyder, you idiot. You fucking idiot. I thought he might be behind this. I really did. From the beginning, I said it ages ago. I thought Zack Snyder might be behind this. And it makes me so sad because his film is good. He should have let his film speak for itself. If he had just said, forget about all of the bullshit. Our film is coming out now. They're giving me $70 million to fucking make the movie, and just let the movie come out. It would have been fine. Snyder denies any role in the influencing Fisher. I hope he didn't. And I hope he can prove it. Tweeting footage of himself praising Whedon at Comic-Con in 2017, Fisher wrote, "I'd like to take a moment to forcefully retract every bit of this statement. His earlier words had been based on studio supply talking points." He says, "I can't believe this. I feel like I'm dreaming right now. Guys, I'm not joking. I feel like I'm fucking dreaming right now, because everything they're saying in this article is what I have speculated from the beginning. Everything. From Zack Snyder being behind this, that he wanted to take control of the DCEU, that he hated Warner Brothers, that he hated Jeff Johns, and that he was the person who was the architect of this situation. Everything has come fucking true in this article. Everything they're saying. So Jody was right, it seems. Yeah. Holy fuck. Jody was right. And I did a response video. You can go back to my response to Jodie's Corner about this situation. I had been saying this before Jodie said it. Before Jodie even said this, I'd been saying this shit. Krypton was really a peculiar to Man of Steel, but as Zack's ideas diverged from Goya's ideas, Sci-Fi asked DC if the series could be on its own, and they complied. All right, yeah, so yeah, okay, so yeah, I get that. That's a good point, man. But Snyder bots will claim this is a lie. I don't know what they can't say anything from this, man. This is fucking crazy. This is either the worst hit piece ever. I mean, this is I've never seen any shit like this where they are letting this all fucking out, and all of the toxic fandom that has been hating on Warner Brothers ever since all of this stuff comes out. This looks bad. It's just so. All right, okay, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. Adding he was enabled in many ways by Jeff Johns and John Berg. He did not elaborate. Berg told the Variety it was categorically untrue that he was enabled any unprofessional behavior. He added that Fisher didn't want to say booyah, a well-known phrase from the animated series. As Fisher continued to air grievances on social media and in some interviews, he began to suspect that when he tweeted, the studio would put out an announcement to distract from his message. On July 1st, the day that Fisher tweeted about Whedon's behavior, Deadline published an exclusive saying Warner's was making a live-action Frosty the Snowman movie with Aquaman star Jason Momoa voicing the iconic snowman. A few weeks later, Momoa pushed back in an Instagram post, I just think it's fucked up that people released a fake Frosty announcement without my permission to try and distract from Ray Fisher speaking up about the shitty way we were treated on the Justice League reshoots, he wrote. Serious stuff went down. It needs to be investigated and people need to be held accountable. All right. So in early July, Fisher spoke with Walter Hamada, who had taken the reins of at DC Films. He says Hamada called Josh an asshole and said, I'm just looking to get past anything to do with Justice League. Josh isn't here anymore, and I don't plan on hiring him again. But according to Fisher, Hamada said he did not believe Johns had done anything wrong. I don't know John Berg very well. I know Josh was difficult, but Jeff Ray, he's really getting dragged through the mud, and I'm sure you're getting your share of hate too. Fisher responded, I'm fine with the hate because I know I'm telling the truth. He asked for an investigation. So that's what Walter Hamada's crime was. Walter Hamada basically, according to Ray Fisher's own words, called Josh Whedon an asshole, which he was, according if everything that this article is saying is true, he was. Gal Gadot seems to have confirmed that as well. What has this got to do with Jeff Johns and John Berg and fucking, Toby Emmerich? All of these people just being dragged through the mud by fucking, for months and months now, and Walter Hamada, because they dared to disagree with Ray Fisher. That's basically what this is saying. Unless there's another side to this, unless this story isn't telling me all of Ray Fisher's side, and I'm perfectly able to qualify that and say, okay, maybe this story isn't telling me everything Ray Fisher is saying to them, but everything Ray Fisher said to me, he called that a threat. That was a threat from Jeff. From his own words, the wiring in his brain must be wrong if he thought that was a threat. The guy said, I'm your friend. He comes to him friendly and says, hey, I don't think I want you to get a bad reputation in this town. My fucking God. And then some sensitive people are talking about continuity issues in a fucking TV show. All right, so anyway, let me just finish this off. Maybe something is going to come up that's just going to bring me back into this. He asked for an investigation. Jesus Christ, this is long. Later that month, the studio's HR department contacted Fisher. He says he spoke with two executives for about 2 hours. He adds that he offered specific allegations of abusive behavior towards himself and others, and provided the names of some witnesses willing to be contacted. But he was very cognizant that HR departments are often known to show more allegiance to employers than to complaining parties. He became even more suspicious, he says, when witnesses started telling him they had been contacted. Fisher requested an independent so they've been contacted. Independent investigator and asked SAG AFTRA to have a rep with him in the process. In mid-August, a Warner Brothers exec told Fisher that an outside investigator had been approved, but his guard went up when the exec said, "We really like him. We've worked with him before." Still, Fisher tweeted that this represented a massive step forward. But then Warner's veteran told Fisher not to trust the investigation if a particular studio exec was overseeing. See, this is sad, man, because I don't know about the rest, but this really minimizes racism. They're going to use you every time and say, look, everything people says about when people call out racism, they're going to say, oh yeah, they're just lying. This is the kind of thing that makes it look bad. Because half the stuff you said about Jeff Johns, nothing that Josh Whedon said to him was racist. Let's put that straight up. Nothing Josh Whedon even said. Even the worst of the culprits in this situation, the worst of them, Josh Whedon, said nothing racist to him, according to everything he said here. None of it was racist. Let's just put that up front. Okay, he was being a douchebag, he was being an asshole, it wasn't racist. Then Jeff Johns is just completely fucking innocent. If we're to believe, I'm not saying believe what Jeff says. Of course, Jeff is going to try and defend himself. But the problem is what Ray Fisher's saying Jeff Johns did. Now he's elaborating on what Jeff Johns did. By his own words, his own admissions. That's the problem I'm having here. I'm not looking, anything Jeff Johns says I'm regarding with suspicion. I'm not taking his word for it at all. Yeah, Krypton was originally meant to be a prequel to Man of Steel. That is true. So Grandpa L being white makes sense. Do you think that? I think that does make sense, but I wouldn't have cared if they did a race swap for his grandpa. Maybe Kryptonians, that race is, I don't know. They're aliens, for God's sake. There could be anything. So I didn't care about his grandfather being. But if Jeff Johns gave a legitimate reason for it, that they weren't expecting that, yet he's hiring people to do all sorts of other black roles and LGBT roles on other productions, then clearly that wasn't his problem. His problem was a creative one. And he is the fucking showrunner. It's his job. He gets to decide that, not people who work under him. Yes, Goya did make Krypton as a prelude. If Johns did do those things, he either did because he thought it would connect to DCEU. Yeah, true. Hamada was very logical in what he said, and he is right to not deal with JL since he wasn't there when it happened. It's right. It's fucking logical. It's true what you're saying, man. Absolutely great point. But yeah, I'm saying my whole problem with this is Ray Fisher's admitting it himself. He's the one saying these things. How can he possibly think these things are racist or bad? The Quasimodo thing is a wash. He's even made the one thing that I was suspicious of, which is the angry black man statement. He's even clarified that, so that wasn't racist. They literally were talking about stereotypes. Jeff Johns literally said that. It's oh God, I'm just appalled. I'm really saddened by this. What Ray Fisher? I need to find the actual Ray Fisher interview of this, because if this is true, man, this is really fucking trash. Like as a reason to come out and do all of this, unless of course Zack Snyder put him up to it. But then a Warner's veteran told Fisher not to trust the investigation if a particular studio exec was overseeing it, because the person had previously helped sweep misconduct under the rug. When he spoke to the investigator, Fisher asked how many times he had worked for the studio. He declined to answer. Fisher asked who was overseeing the inquiry and said he would have an issue if it was the executive named by his contact. He still got no answer. Feeling that the situation felt pretty dodgy, Fisher went no further. On August 26th, the investigator provided a name, citing an attorney in the general counsel's office. Please do me a favor, by the way, guys. Thanks for staying with me for so long and reading through this. This is crazy, dude. I cannot believe what I'm reading in this. Guys, do me a favor. Give me a high five, smash that like button for me. Helps the algorithm out. On August 26th, the investigator provided a name, citing an attorney in the general counsel's office. When Fisher looked at the Warner Media website, he found this individual was the only black attorney whose headshot was visible. And in fact, the lawyer had nothing to do with the investigation. She handled matters for HBO, HBO Max, TBS, and TNT. Fisher wondered if naming her had been a simple mistake or a ploy to lull him into a sense of security, with the idea that she might be on the same team as me simply by being a black person. Feeling ever more distrustful, he just seems like a paranoid guy, like really paranoid. It's not that big a deal what happened to him. Why are you being paranoid? You should have moved. You would have Ray Fisher, man. Fuck it. You can't understand how crushing it is to me when I see a talented black guy like this do this to his career. I feel bad for him. I think he's so talented, and I think he's young and he's stupid. That's what I think, honestly. And I'm not saying that as an insult. When I say young and stupid, we're all young and stupid. When we're even up until the age of 33, maybe you're getting out of it, but it takes time. Really, you're going to look back on life when you're a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and you're going to look back at times when you were in your 20s, when you're feeling yourself, when you're young, you're good looking, everything is going your way and whatever. You're going to look back at that and you're going to be like, how fortunate I was during that time, and why the fuck was I complaining, and why was I hurting myself during those periods. And this is what it looks like to me. There's certain things you should be grateful. No, you should not just allow people to be racist to you. No, absolutely not. You shouldn't have tolerance for that. Nobody should allow people to abuse them. It's very, very true. But at the same time, you have to measure things and measure your response. And it just seems to me like this is a very talented individual, and everybody, there would have been Zack Snyder and Ray Fisher would have been the talk of the town in Hollywood right now. And now this has come out, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt Ray Fisher more than it's gonna hurt Zack Snyder. And it's sad because he's a fucking good actor, really good. Made me feel so much stuff during there were about 4 or 5 times I nearly teared up in Justice League, and 2 of them were thanks to Ray Fisher, and this is sad. So feeling ever more distrustful, blah blah blah. Unfortunately, Fisher continued to tweet, writing on September 4th that her mother had thrown Whedon and Berg under the bus while covering for Johns. Unfortunately, it's not until I start talking about people specifically that the needle starts to move. He says, if they were going to continue to try and cover things up, I wasn't going to let that happen. Okay. So Fisher then got a call from Berg, who said he was sorry the actor had an appalling experience. So John Berg actually apologized to him on Justice League, and he hadn't been able to help, acknowledging that a bunch of straight white men had been running things. He said he hoped the studio would improve on that in future. Berg said he had spoken to the investigator at length and truthfully. I let him know that it did mean a lot, Fisher says. I'm not beyond forgiveness. Okay, so at least you've forgiven someone. Good when it comes to this kind of stuff. It was a very big thing of him to do. So why have you just let it linger that this man is some kind of racist asshole? You know, all this time you've let it linger there that this guy's a racist asshole, and by your own admission, now it turns out that John Berg is actually a pretty fucking decent guy. No one else in the process has reached out at all. The studio, meanwhile, defended itself that day in a statement. At no time did Hamada ever throw anyone under the bus, as Mr. Fisher has falsely claimed, or render any judgment about the Justice League production in which Mr. Hamada had no involvement. The company said Fisher had refused multiple attempts by the investigator to contact him. Fisher saw that as a smear. Oh, for fuck's sake, how long is this fucking article? In early October, top Warner Media execs spoke with Fisher and his team, including a rep from SAG. Fisher's rep confirms the content of the call. When Fisher pressed the question of how the investigator had come to provide the name of an in-house attorney who had nothing to do with the inquiry, Warner Media executive on the call responded that the investigator had just pulled the name off the internet. Christy Hallberg, head of the communications at Warner Media and the company's top inclusion officer, said the studio's statement that Fisher had refused to cooperate with the investigation had been based on a third-hand information. The studio's communications department had been responding emotionally to Fisher's public allegations against Hamada, she said, adding, I think they believed what they were saying was true. Fisher wondered why anyone at the studio. Okay, so he was right about that. So, okay, Fisher was actually right about that. So Fisher wondered why anyone at the studio, which was ostensibly the subject of the investigation, would comment at all. Pressed by Fisher, Hallberg declined to say who at the studio had approved the statement, but she said she was furious when she read it. I have made it 100% crystal clear to everyone in the entire Warner Brothers communications organization that not a goddamn word can be said about Ray Fisher, Hallberg said. If I catch anyone doing that, they're fired. Fisher says he asked for an apology repeatedly in the weeks that followed. Warner Media kicked around some language that he felt fell short. Ultimately, Hallberger told Fisher, I don't think that if people said something they believe was true, that there's an apology needed. There you go. Wow, a fucking adult. After the studio put out the statement accusing him of not cooperating, what Fisher calls the hit piece, he asked for another investigator. Warner Media agreed to bring in Forrest. This is just amazing, who they told him had handled the investigation of ousted CEO Sugihara. Fisher was initially optimistic, but says he again turned wary when Forrest, who is white, led with the fact that she was an Obama appointee. Still, Fisher was somewhat optimistic because he believed Forrest's previous Sugihara investigation exposed alleged misconduct. But she told him that she hadn't completed that inquiry before Sugihara left. Instead, he left after THR published an article about the entanglement with aspiring actress Charlotte Kurt. Initially, Fisher was told Forrest would work alongside the original investigator. He objected and the original investigator withdrew. In December, Fisher says that he and SAG had a final conversation with Forrest, during which she said remedial action had been taken, some of which she said Fisher had probably seen, but she was not explicit. She said further remedial action would be taken, but again, did not offer specifics. But she told Fisher she did not find evidence of racial animus. So she told Ray Fisher this before. And yet he put out the fucking recording of her. And yet he put out the recording of her Even though she said she did not find evidence of racial animus. Warner Brothers chairman Ann Sarnoff said in a recent interview that the investigator found the cuts made in the Joss Whedon version of Justice League were not racially motivated, but Forrest didn't say that publicly. To Fisher, the information Forrest shared was so limited that it seemed the purpose was clear. She was only authorized by Warner Media to attempt to explain away anything to do with race. Warner's maintains it has complete confidence in the investigation process and her conclusions. That is, whatever. I mean, that probably part of that is probably true, but on the other hand, everything makes sense from what Ray Fisher is himself saying. On the evening of December 11th, Warner issued a statement saying the investigation was finished in what Fisher calls a Friday night news dump. Jesus Christ, I've never read such a long article in my fucking life, bro. I might say, do you know what, guys? This has gone on a long. Sorry, guys, can you hear me? I need to check my mic and stuff, audio. Okay, you guys can still hear me. This has gone on a long time, and I might save the rest of this article for later because this is a mammoth beast of an article. But before I go, I'm gonna just go and read some of your statements. So Kazi Nabir says, honestly, Jeff was put in charge of DCEU, a dying franchise at the time. Honestly, I would like Jeff to be in the Arrowverse with Berlanti, as both he and Berlanti can do great things when working together. I don't think so. I think Jeff Johns should come back after this article. You know what? Honestly, because even Wonder Woman 84 is explained by this article. If you don't notice, the lighter tone of Wonder Woman 1984 was clearly a Sujihara idea that Jeff Johns basically had to kind of go along with. So he just did his best to come up with the light tone. Patty Jenkins seemed on board with that as well. She was the one who initially came up with the story. So that I don't think is I don't think anything is Jeff Johns' fault anymore. So yeah, in that situation, wait a second, guys. I'm just going to do something very, very quickly. So yeah, I don't blame Jeff Johns in that sense at all. But and I think he deserves much better. I think at the very, very least, now he should be able to make his Green Lantern movie. At the very least, if they're not going to let him be head of DC, which I think maybe he's proven with Aquaman and Wonder Woman 84 that he definitely needs to be more of a creative person, then I think the best thing for Jeff Johns, the absolute best thing that he can do for himself, and what Warner Brothers should do for him, is let him make his fucking Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern buddy cop movie. That needs to be done. He deserves that after the fucking smear campaign that's gone on against him. After all the Arrowverse is really good. After all of this, the Arrowverse is really good. Is indication that people behind the DCU didn't even read comics. They just used famous characters to boost their own shitty movies. True, I agree with some of that. So yeah, yeah, sorry. Again, I apologize with the freaking camera. If you guys can hear me, I'm gonna finish this now. Sorry, I had to just do something very, very quickly. So Ray Fisher was going to be in Flash. Hamada offered the role, maybe even a solo movie down the line. He destroyed his golden ticket. He absolutely did. There's no doubt about it. This is Ray Fisher's own fault. His own career is his fault, and I feel bad because he's got talent. He's been gifted great talents, and he's wasted it, in my opinion. Guys, remember, do me a favor, give me a high five, smash that like button, helps me out with the algorithm there. But Belanti was once given the Flash movie, but when he asked if Grant could portray Flash, they said not Belanti. Belanti was once given the Flash movie, but when he asked if Grant could portray Flash, they said not Belanti. Left. Good. I'm sorry, I don't like the Flash. I'm sorry, you're gonna hate me for this, Kazi. I don't think the Flash is that good in that universe. He's good for TV. Like, he's a good TV actor. Next, why couldn't Ray tweet that John Berg offered an apology? Why let people hate on John Berg? Yeah, thank you. That is pathetic, man. He should have told them that John Berg issued that apology. That is real, and that was a heartfelt apology as well. It wasn't just a normal apology. That was a really heartfelt apology. I feel that in itself is really suspect. Yeah, so that for me is really terrible. I can't believe he did that either. Also, think Zack Snyder's Justice League was okay, not good, not bad, but okay. Again, man, Kathy, I like Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think it's a shame that his universe is going to be destroyed, and it's his own doing. He should have stopped this toxic behavior really quickly. He should have believed in the Snyder Cut. If he believed in his own movie, if he stopped trying to stuff it with nightmare scenes and all of that bullshit at the end, if he just believed in what he'd made, finished the VFX, used that 70 million to make the VFX amazing, not bring in Martian Manhunter and all of that bullshit at the end, and just made a lean 3 hour and something movie, which is still fucking long anyway. But he would have had a great, movie that nobody could deny. If anything, he should have put in more Superman scenes. If he needed to put in any scenes, more good Superman, not evil Superman scenes. But he could have given a few more scenes to Henry Cavill. That's the only thing I think he should have been doing in terms of reshoots. But yeah, he should have believed in his movie. I think people like his movie, and they would have been like the same as they are now. There's a Snyder cult who, no matter what, whether it was good or bad, would have been like, we want this movie, and the Snyder Cut, whether it was good or bad, would have basically said that the movie was a masterpiece, no matter what. But the thing is, a lot more people who didn't like Zack Snyder's earlier movies actually like this movie. So I think definitely he would have had a lot of support. He does have a lot of support. But after this is terrible behavior, man. So yeah. After Superman, Green Lanterns are my fave characters, and I really need a GL movie in my life. Yeah, I think they should get Jeff Johns on that GL movie. If all of the shit is true in this article, and it can be shown, and that Ray Fisher does not try and argue against this article, they need to put Jeff Johns on a Green Lantern movie ASAP, because that's his favorite character. He loves that character. He wanted to make that film. He's been working on the script. And the only reason I think it hasn't been announced is because of all of this controversy. And that's why it went to HBO Max and all of that bullshit, the Green Lantern. They started making a Green Lantern franchise for HBO Max rather than... do you remember a while ago during DC Fandom, they were going to announce a new they were going to announce a new movie. I think it was the Green Lantern. It was Green Lantern that they were going to announce. I don't think they were ever going to announce Superman, but they were going to announce Green Lantern. And I think the studio backed away from that because it was associated with Jeff Johns. So that's my feeling towards it. So yeah, you are right. Jeff was trashed so much. I defended him and people trashed me. Yeah, exactly. He was in a no-win situation and people like Grace Randolph trashed him. Exactly. Berlanti now working with Jeff on GL show. But yeah, that GL show needs to be a movie. Fuck a GL show. I need a movie with you know, Hal Jordan and fucking you know, throw in Jon Stewart in that as well. I think that's the movie we need to see. People call Jeff all kinds of names, and when I said people are overreacting, they said a white guy to me, a person of color was racist to a person of color. Right. Yeah, I don't know. You're going to have to elaborate on that a bit because I didn't quite understand. So people called Jeff Johns all kinds of names. And when I said people are overreacting, they said a white guy to me, a person of color was racist to a person of color. Yeah, I think you're saying you're a person of color yourself. So I understand. I think I understand a little bit more what you're saying now. Henry Cavill is honestly suffering the most. He wants to portray Superman like Tyler, but Zack just wants Injustice Superman. Yeah, I don't like Zack's take on Superman. I've made no secret of that. I thought what he did in Justice League made it better. It wasn't, you know, full on what it could have been, but he made Superman somewhat better, and at least he you know, Pa Kent was you know, who was trash in basically he was really bad in Man of Steel. He still was giving stupid messages to him in BVS, and by the time it got to Justice League, he actually redeemed. I think Pa Kent's character was redeemed a little bit in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I appreciated that about the movie. But yeah, he's not been treated well, and I'd like to see a Henry Cavill. The next movies I want announced by DC to forward their universe before they're doing any Zatanna or Blue Beetle is I need my Man of Steel, Superman, 2 with Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill faces Brainiac. Let's get it going. Green Lantern. I need my Green Lanterns back in this universe. Flash is already happening, so I'm happy with that. Aquaman 2 is happening. Shazam is happening. Next thing I definitely need is I need a Wonder Woman 3 with a really good fucking screenwriter announced as penning the movie. That's the last thing I need. I want Wonder Woman 3 with a great screenwriter penning that movie. And that needs to be announced quickly. And then I think then I'll be happy. I'll be able to be like, oh, you want to do Blue Beetle? Good. You want to do Zatanna? Good. You want to do like other things? That's fine. Until those movies are like established so that we can get to the Justice League 2, I don't want to hear anything that DC has to say about other properties. So last two before I actually leave here is was arguing with a white guy that Jeff wasn't racist, and when I defended Jeff, that white guy called me a racist to people of color. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. I get it. They've done similar things to me. But anyway, I'm going to finish this article later because this is a massive, mammoth beast of an article. And it's shocking, really, really, really shocking. But guys, thank you for joining me. Thanks for all of your comments. This was really a great stream. You made it really enjoyable for me. Ray just took everything as a threat. Yeah, I know, right? Look, as I said, the really damning thing about this article is that Ray Fisher is confirming what they're responding to. So they respond. Oh, thanks, man. I'll finish off and then I'll say my piece. But Ray Fisher's actually responding, or Ray Fisher's basically saying or confirming the same story as Jeff Johns' story and as John Berg's story, except he's just seems to be taking everything as the worst possible interpretation of what they could possibly mean. And it's just like, you need to give people the benefit of the doubt sometimes. I mean, and this just makes him look bad. It makes him look really, really bad, and kind of, I mean, even more kind of petty than I even thought he was. This is pettier stuff than I thought he was. The one thing that I was like, oh, maybe he's got something, is this comment about they don't want an angry black man at the center of the movie. And it turns out, like everything we were saying about it, me, a person that I do my podcast with, Philosophical Pickle. Here he is here, Philosophical Pickle. By the way, guys, anyone wants some really kind of entertaining DC comic book news, go to Philosophical Pickle, subscribe to his channel. He's always got a lot of fun stuff, DC comics book related stuff on his channel. So hashtag release the cyborgers and man. Yeah, so stuff with me and Philosophical Pickle have discussed about this particular situation, about the angry black man. Turns out that's exactly what fucking Jeff Johns meant. And it's what I assumed, so in any case, I'm not going to go through more of this article. I'm going to save it for a later podcast that I'm doing tonight. But thanks, you've stayed with me. This is a beast of an article. And thanks for staying with me. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Give me a high five, smash that like button, and for sure, comment on in the comment section, because I always reply to and respond to my comments. Thanks so much for bearing with me through this article. This has been a beast of an article, truly. And you know what, guys, I'm going to see you on the flip side, and I love you 3000. Peace.